Right here is where the great American experiment comes alive. Join us in the fight to restore liberty and American exceptionalism. And together, let's make the case that our charters of freedom are worth defending and honoring. Let's get to work. Hi, my name is Shane Krauser, and I want to welcome you to freedomfires.com. And what we're going to be doing is taking a journey. That journey is going to be a journey through the Constitution, through the fundamental principles of freedom, American exceptionalism. Those are the things that need to be addressed in America today, and we're going to work together to begin to understand those principles, embrace those principles, and in turn, understand the narrative so that we can go out and impact the culture. You know, it was Samuel Adams who said that if we tamelessly suffer an attack on our liberty, we encourage it. And that's exactly right. If we don't stand up and defend freedom, who will? Freedom will not exist by itself. It takes a vigilant, courageous, and empowered people to ultimately defend those ideas. And it was John Philbot Coran who said, if it is the common fate of the indolent to have their rights made a prey to the active. In other words, if we don't stand up and defend liberty, liberty will ultimately vanish. And so today what we're going to talk about is some of the greatest threats, the greatest problems that we're dealing with in America today, and how we can begin to correct those problems. To maintain liberty, we've got to become engaged, we've got to become involved, and we've got to become informed. That's ultimately where it starts. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're boarding an airplane. And as you board the airplane, you see the individual who at least claims to be the pilot sitting in the cockpit. And you approach him and you question him. You ask him if he's ever flown an airplane before. And he kind of dances around the question. And you ask him if he's gone through the checklist. And he tells you, well, if there are any problems in the air, I'll take a look at the checklist then. There's no question that you would have a little bit of ambivalence about flying with this particular pilot. And as you watch him begin to engage the knobs and the various instruments in the cockpit, it becomes clear to you that he has no idea what he's doing. As a result, you make a decision, as any rational human being would do, not to fly in that airplane. I want you to think about that for just a moment. And as you think about that, think about where you go to get medical treatment. You go to a doctor. When you need legal advice, you go to a lawyer. When you need your plumbing work done, you go to a plumber. Right? You're going to individuals that have an element of expertise within that particular area. But what we've done in America today is we've literally elected individuals who have no idea what the rule book is, have no idea what it means to be free, have no idea what the Constitution ultimately says. In other words, we've allowed individuals in America to take the cockpit having no idea how to fly the airplane. We've gone to the doctor and allowed individuals who pretend to be doctors to replace our knee. We've gone to individuals who claim how to know to fix the plumbing in our home, but have never spent a day learning and studying how to do those things. That's the problem in America today, and we can correct those things. There's no question that there are better days coming and that there is hope that should be embraced and that we should move forward with. But we have to do something about it. We can't rely on someone else to take care of that problem. It's ultimately up to us. And so as we look at some of the greatest problems in the country, in fact, my opinion is rather clear, and I'm very firm on this, and that is the greatest problem in America today is an apathetic people. A people that just don't care. They're not quite interested with being engaged in the culture, and it's just living day in and day out, collecting the paycheck, taking care of the family, but oblivious to what's going on around them politically. We've got to change that. It was Dr. Benjamin Rush, a great founding father, who said, education is favorable to liberty. Freedom can only exist in a society of knowledge. And that's exactly right. Thomas Jefferson was the one who said, educate the people and tyranny will vanish like evil spirits at the break of dawn. In other words, if you want to see tyranny disappear, if you want tyranny to be eliminated within a culture, you must educate the people first. The people must stand on firm principles, must understand what it means to be free, and fight against those impulses that would threaten freedom. It was Daniel Webster who said, make them intelligent and they will be vigilant. Give them the means of detecting the wrong and they will apply the remedy. And that's exactly what we're doing here at Freedom Fires, is we're learning about what it is that is the problem, learning how to detect those problems together, and then coming up with a remedy and applying that remedy within the culture of America to change things, to restore America back to the principles upon which it was originally founded. That's the mission, and that's the mission we're going to engage in together. Now, we have to be vigilant about those individuals that we're electing, those individuals that we're asking to represent us through the ballot box. Why? Why must we be vigilant? Well, Voltaire tells us rather clearly, so long as the people do not care to exercise their freedom, those who wish to tyrannize will do so. For tyrants are active and ardent and will devote themselves in the name of any number of gods, religious or otherwise, to put shackles upon sleeping men. So when we talk about the American experiment requires an active and engaged people. Simply sitting on our couches and hoping that we'll remain free is a utopian fantasy land. That will not happen. It has never happened in the history of the world. When people stand up and are prepared to defend something bigger than themselves, not just for themselves, but for future generations, that's when we'll see freedom prosper in any culture. And that's what we're trying to restore in America today. So how do we begin to engage a culture that is apathetic? How do we begin to engage a culture that may not see eye to eye with us politically? Well, we've got to establish common ground. And I want to give you some very, very powerful tools right out of the chute that you can begin using with your family members, your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, to really start to have an impact and engage in conversation that is critical to restoring this nation. You know, I spent a lot of time traveling this country, going on to college campuses, working with grassroots organizations. And one of the tactics that I used oftentimes, especially on college campuses, is asking these fundamental questions that I'm about to show you in order to establish common ground, in order to establish credibility, and allow myself to engage in conversation with those that think they disagree with me, but suddenly find themselves in agreement with me. First question, do you want to be told what to do? You know, as I go onto these college campuses, I want you to imagine for just a moment walking into a college auditorium, and you've got 500 students there. And those students probably have heard some things about, well, this guy thinks he's going to come in and he's going to talk to us about freedom and the Constitution. Not so sure, you know, what he has to say is right, or is he off his rocker? Well, what is it that he's going to say? But you have some preconceived notions. These students have some preconceived notions about what it is that I stand for and have never even heard me. And you know, with those that are looking to restore this nation and talk often about freedom and the Constitution, those are preconceived notions that we have to deal with. That's the reality of this fight. And so asking a question like this, do you want to be told what to do? Do you know anybody who would raise their hand and say, you know what, I do want to be told what to do. I'm all about having someone else make decisions for me. I'm all about the government intervening because the government knows how to live my life better than I do. You're not going to find a person that subscribes to that particular idea. And so this is a very, very powerful tool that we need to be using. And as we go on this mission through the Constitution and freedom together, you're going to hear me refer to these questions, this one in particular, many, many times. Why? Because it's a powerful tool that we need to utilize. We're establishing common ground with people that think ideologically they disagree with us. Let's ask them, do you want to be told what to do? I don't want to be told what to do. And I know that the overwhelming majority of Americans don't want to be told what to do. So if we don't want to be told what to do, why are we allowing what is going on in America today, where government insists on telling us what to do at virtually every turn? Let's have that conversation with the culture. They agree with us. Let's engage them, and let's engage them by asking the right questions. That's question number one. Question number two, do you believe government should follow the rules? I've never met anybody in the years that I've been doing this who says, you know what, no, government shouldn't have to follow the rules. We want government to follow the rules. We want government to play by the rule book. Now the question becomes, as you engage other people who will give you an affirmative response, you're now in a position to truly educate. Because if we believe that government should follow the rules, that begs the question, what is the rule book? Now we're in a great position. We have a great opportunity to engage the person that we're talking with about what the rule book is, the Constitution, and what the rule book says. And as we go on this mission together, we're going to talk about what the rule book says. But this is critical in order to establish conversation among those in the culture. So, do you want to be told what to do? Do you believe government should follow the rules? And the third question, do you believe you should be able to keep the fruits of your labor? Virtually every American believes that what they work for, they should be able to keep. If that's the case, why are we allowing government today to intervene and take away so much that we've worked for? See, these three questions establish common ground within a culture that have preconceived notions about me and you. Let's engage the culture that's asked these questions and start to change things, start to restore America. Next, as we go through this mission together to teach one another about freedom and talk about American exceptionalism and defend the idea that our foundation, that is our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, cannot be abandoned, there's going to be a little bit of frustration as we go through because we want to know everything at once. We're going to go slowly through these ideas and we're going to understand them. We're going to understand them well so that we can engage in this battle. I want you to think for a moment about the gold rush, the late 1840s, early 1850s. Massive amounts of people came to California because they believed that there was wealth to be found. But what happened when many of these individuals arrived is they found that gold stuff, they found something surrounding that gold stuff, and it was blue stuff. And many of the people coming to the gold rush had no idea what the blue stuff was. And because they didn't know what the blue stuff was, and they didn't have the instruments to process the blue stuff, many of them left. They left. Well, what was that blue stuff surrounding the gold? It was silver. It was silver. And because, again, they didn't have the instruments to process the silver, they left. What they didn't understand is they were leaving wealth behind. So as we go through together, I know that we want to get to the gold. We want to get there right now. We want to restore America today. It's going to be we have a fight on our hands, and it's going to take some time. But understand, we've got to process the blue stuff first. We've got to process the silver first in order to get to the gold. We've got to engage one another and have the tough conversations and understand the principles found in the Constitution in order to get to the gold stuff and restore America. Those are the things that we're going to be doing together. We're going to see the Constitution and freedom come alive as we work together and as we understand those things that make America truly unique. So when we come back on the other side, we're going to talk about the purpose of government and why that's critical to understand today.